In 1910, Julius Rosenwald read two books that changed his life. One of these books was Up from Slavery, the autobiography of Booker T. Washington. Julius Rosenwald was smitten by this book. He thought it was really interesting. Shortly after he read these two books, he was visited by a delegation from the YMCA. They asked JR if he would be willing to donate $25,000 to build a black YMCA in Chicago. The YMCAs in those days were not just places of recreation. They also served as hotels and dormitories. And there was a desperate need for a facility like this in Chicago for African Americans because there were no hotels in the black community in Chicago. Now, why would a Jewish businessman want to put money into a Christian YMCA? Well, there are several reasons for this. One is that, according to the teachings of Rabbi Hirsch, JR realized that both Jews and blacks were suffering prejudice at this time. The blacks were suffering a good deal more, but that it was incumbent upon him as a wealthy Jew to assist his less fortunate African American brothers and sisters. He thought that if blacks and whites could collaborate on a cause, that this would bring the two groups together. They would be able to work together on something, and that this was definitely worthwhile. But Booker T. Washington had another agenda. He also wanted to help build black public schools in the South. And so he asked JR if 1/10 of this $25,000 could be used to build 6 public schools in the vicinity of Tuskegee. And JR agreed to this. Booker T. Washington sent pictures of the schools, and JR was really excited about these photographs and wanted other people to see them and get involved in this project. And so when Booker T. Washington came back to him and asked if more money could be used to build more schools, JR agreed to this. They were in rural areas before TVA, so they lacked running water, they didn't have central heating, they didn't have electricity, but they were new and they certainly were better than what had existed before. And he saw eager children and proud parents and teachers waiting to teach, and he thought that this was a really great program. And so when Booker T. Washington came back to him yet again and asked if still more money could be put into these schools, he agreed. And so by the time Booker T. Washington died in 1915, there were some 85 schools that had been built or were under construction in 3 southern states, and this was just the beginning of the program. By the end of it all, there were some 5,357 schools, shops, and teachers' homes built in 15 southern states. The schools lasted up until the Civil Rights era, so there were entire generations of black children who got their first chance at an education in these Rosenwald schools. The schools were public schools, and they had to conform to the same kind of standards as the white public schools, so they had to be open the same length of time, because formerly the black kids were sent off to work in the fields, and if they got an education, it was only for about 3 months during the winter. What's interesting is that the schools are now being revived and restored, and history is repeating itself. Just as in the initial building of the schools, you needed one person in a community who could be the spark and recognize that you had to have a school for black children. So now, in many of these communities where the schools existed but are sort of going to pot, there is an alumnus or an alumna of one of these schools who says, yes, we've got to restore the school and turn it into a senior home or a community center or a museum of black history. And that's being done all over the South. It's really exciting to see it.